things are starting to look up a little bit for the Baylor Bears. This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
For tuning back into Locked On Baylor, and thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. Today we're brought to you by Gametime. I'm Cam Stuart, and I'm still soaking in. No, not a BYU thing. I am still soaking in this miracle in the Magic Kingdom. It's been a long time, maybe never, that I've just felt such a vibe shift in a team. After one half of one game. Look, are they going to go 9-3? No. Are they going to make a bowl game? I don't know. Still, I can't say that definitively, but the vibes are good right now. The vibes are quite good right now. It's easy for the vibes to be good around Dave Aranda when things are winning. You know, he's such that quiet guy, very nice guy, very mild-mannered. That, I mean, you saw it at the end of last year. You've definitely seen it this year. When things are not going well, it's terrible. Oh, why doesn't he show any emotion? Why is he reading children's books? You know, and there's something to that. Why does he appreciate the question? Why is he smiling on the sideline? Like, there's something to that. I get that. But when things are going well, you start to see the good things, right? Okay, we do love this person over player thing. You know, we do love his honesty. We do love kind of how uncomplimentary it is when his players are so fired up and he's just trying to keep an even keel, but he's still happy. So that's what made one of the things that made 2021 such a special time and special season was this felt like the guy to rally around, and that he was going to be, you know, he wasn't going to be the in your face, hugging you, kissing you, rah, but it's all BS. We had that before. He's also, you know, not going to bring major scandal to the university. Because, I mean, Art Briles was a heck of a player's coach and was someone who really knew how to work the media in a good way. He seemed like a good guy to the media. But Aranda's not bringing that baggage either. So when it's going good, it is a perfect marriage. But as we've seen this year, when it's not going good, it's gasoline on a fire. But right now, it's good, was my long way of saying that. And looking forward at the schedule, I think that is maybe subconsciously a reason for optimism in this fan base. You know, it's one game. They barely won. They probably are not the better team than UCF. And for a lot of the game, they didn't play like the better team. In fact, they played way the opposite, but they won the game and they showed a lot. And they showed some real signs of life. This was not just UCF peeing down their leg. This was Baylor taking control of the game and making the plays they needed to make, which is something that they have not done in 2 years. That was the biggest win in 2 years. And if Baylor doesn't win any of their last 2 games in 2021, it's the biggest win in like almost 10 years. Just because of the vibes that it brings out. But looking ahead at this month and especially this week with Texas Tech coming in, we'll hear Dave talk about them a little bit later and start the previews on it tomorrow in tomorrow's show. But that's a team that got a win again this week against UH, but they're in a similar situation as you without quite the momentum and obviously not playing at home. The game's in Waco. They're still trying to figure things out. They will have Baron Morton in there at quarterback, who really struggled against Baylor last year. Just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It reminds me of the great Woody Johnson quote when Christian Hackenberg was playing for the Jets, and someone had asked him, "Do you think Christian Hackenberg could throw a ball into the ocean?" And he said, "Which ocean?" Any excuse to tell that story. It's hilarious. That's Baron Morton against the Baylor Bears. So all of that and Iowa State and Houston in the next few weeks after that, a bye week mixed in there. That's why the vibes are high. And another reason why is because, look, for all the crap that Jeff Grimes gets, And certainly some of that's warranted with their offensive performance, especially this season. The man got in his bag in the second half. And I mean, I thought he called a good game overall, just from top to bottom. But really in that second half, they were cutting it loose a little bit. They were actually starting to challenge some teams vertically. And it was the first time that the things that Dave has been saying has made a little bit of sense. And when he'll say, oh, we've got an explosive offense in practice, we're making big chunk plays. And look, this is not a Bryles offense, but they were explosive in that second half, and they were making big plays down the field. Obviously, Monterey Baldwin is the biggest component of that. He's running over guys at some points in the fourth quarter on that final drive. They have some perfectly executed plays, like that one where he's running over guys. They get the ball to him in space about 3 yards from the sticks, and he's one-on-one. There's only one guy that can tackle him between him and the first down marker. That's going to work every time with Monterey Baldwin, even though he's, 180 pounds. I'll take the chances with one guy on him in open space every time. The 2-point conversion to Jordan Neighbors, perfectly executed play. I mean, no one within 10 yards of him somehow on a 2-point conversion. So Grimes was really calling a good game. And I know it's going to pain a lot of people to mention it. That's why we didn't see a lot of it in the social media sphere. But he kept running the ball early on in the game, even when you're down 21-0. The runs were there. And I thought that was good on him to not give up on that. Didn't love the pass to a fullback on 4th and 1. Don't love that. But overall, he dialed up some quick hitter, easy passing plays, and the zone run scheme was at its best. Now, it was against the 13th best rushing defense in the Big 12. I get that. But compared to what we've seen this year, this is exactly what they needed. Richard Reese going over 100 yards is exactly what they needed. I saw a stat from my man Jackson Posey, and I probably should pull it up, but that'll take too much time. I believe he had said, that's by Jackson Posey on Twitter, that Baylor is now 8-1 or 8-2 when Richard Reese scores a touchdown. And similarly, the numbers went down for Reese at the end of last year, and so did the wins. They lost 4 straight to end out the year. So really, I mean, the way he goes, the way this team goes. And I think Grimes understood that. I mean, the whole coaching staff, I think, understands that. But with Dom Richardson not at 100%, that actually worked in Richard Reese's favor in terms of giving him more carries and then more momentum. I think he really felt the game well, the way a quarterback does. And his vision was there. He was hitting the right holes. He was getting yards after contact. He was mad at himself a few times for not getting more yards after contact. So that's the things you like to see. And obviously the passing game is what really took over in that fourth quarter to score 26 points. So for as loud as the criticism gets for Jeff Grimes, I'm not hearing nearly as loud some praise this week. And it's okay to do that, even if you want him fired. It's okay to say he had a good game, because I don't want him fired, and I do think he had a good game. And I think this is a glimpse of what the Baylor offense can be. I think they can be a 28 to 30 point a game offense, which, doesn't sound like anything earth-shattering for sure. But what we were saying last week when I told a friend not to bet on the Baylor line because I literally didn't think they can get the ball in the end zone, and they didn't. We're a long way from that. So anyway, Jeff Grimes, a gold star for this week. And today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Gametime is the number one place for you to get tickets. I'm telling you, it is absolutely the best. And when I needed to get some tickets against that UT game 2 weeks ago, I was frustrated. I was looking on Twitter, I was thirst trapping, and there was nothing out there because it was such a big game. Gametime had it for me. They found me some great tickets, and they found them cheap. So you can browse through the Gametime app, and you can see all of the deals. I mean, this isn't just sports. This is concerts, shows in your area, comedy shows, killer last-minute deals, all-in prices. So, none of the exorbitant fees. They're showing you what the price is going to be. They'll let you view from your seat while you're actually looking on there. And their best price guarantee is what's the real kicker. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Look, there's too much guesswork going on for how you're going to bet on the game, what you're going to eat at the game, how you're going to get to the game. Don't let the tickets be the guesswork and go to the game. Go to the game. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, and that, of course, is guaranteed. Shifting gears here a little bit, talks about the offensive side in that last segment, but defensively, you can't score 26 unanswered points in the fourth quarter without not allowing the other team to score a point. That's kind of part of it. And was it the most glimmering defensive performance? No. There were a lot of issues in the first half. More holes in this defense than Blackburn Lancashire. Just Swiss cheese. I've talked about it a few times. That first play of the game, both linebackers going to the same spot. Nobody containing the outside. 3 touchdowns in the first 8 offensive plays for the Knights. But the Bears turned it around. They even forced some turnovers because twice UCF got into scoring position within the 30 or 35 anyway in that second half, and they didn't score either time after their first drive of the second half when they scored a touchdown. But the 2 times after that, they got into real striking distance. They did not score. It was a pick. It was a fumble return for a touchdown. Oh, and guess what? They blocked a kick earlier in the game too, which Dave got all sorts of fired up about. And there is a bright spot to that. After the first drive of the third quarter, they did not allow a point. And yeah, the 4th and 5 play probably should have gone a little better. But with how many young guys you have on that defense, how many freshmen you have out there on the road in a big game, that is what's promising. Guys like Caden Jenkins barely had a sniff out there playing college football, gets his first pick and his first career touchdown. That is an awesome sign for the future. Isaiah Dunson, one of the new guys, you didn't hear his name called a lot on Saturday. You know why? Because he was shutting it down at corner, shutting it down. That's why. And he got a shout out from Dave after the game. But speaking of shout outs from Dave and defensive guys, look, I have been on the Matt Jones train all year and last year and towards the end of 2021. I am a big fan of his. And this was the year that he is the guy defensively. He is the senior. He is the leader on that defense. He is playing, obviously, as a middle linebacker. He's a super important part of the defense. And he didn't have the best start to the season, but he has been a torpedo the last few weeks, just taking command of that defense and making big plays, running around like a chicken with his head cut off in the best possible way, getting in the backfield, not over pursuing. Now, on that first play, he didn't pursue enough, but not freelancing the way we've seen some of the other linebackers this season, the way we've seen Bryson Jackson a little bit this season. He has just been on it. He's been on his job and making sure everyone's doing theirs. And he wanted to be out there and playing on Saturday. Now, this is a funny little anecdote. I know you guys have seen the movie Friday Night Lights, and it's that win at all cost mentality is what they're trying to portray in that movie, just like they do in the book. I mean, there are guys pounding their heads against cement walls. There are guys with broken fingers. There are guys popping shoulders back into place and getting out there on the field. Well, they might well be teaching that at the real Permian High School. That is where Matt Jones went to high school, and he got a little taste of whatever it takes on Saturday. Really hot, humid day in Orlando. And in the second half, Matt Jones got to him a little bit. And Dave talked about this at his press conference today. I'm not going to include this answer when I include him later, just because I'm going to talk about it now. But I want to pull up the exact quote because he was a little under the weather on the sideline and says that Matt Jones did, in fact, throw up puke was the word, on the sideline. And Dave said, and this is from Eric Kelly from KWKT, he was getting out the last couple of chunks of all of it and goes, "We're going to win this game." I mean, come on. Come on. That's a football guy. That is a football guy. If he's talking about MILF, that means, man, I love football in his vocabulary. Not Zach Wilson's, but in Matt Jones. The dude just wants to play ball. All right. And Dave went on to say about it, you get to where guys aren't thinking about themselves anymore. They're thinking about doing it for other people. You're at a different level when it's that way. When you have got guys just blowing chunks on the sideline and you're down 28 points and he's itching to get back in the game, you got something there, Dave. And you got something in Matt Jones. That is that mojo tough. Just get out there and win at all costs. You love to see that. And part of why he was so motivated to get back in there, Dave was saying, is that Mike Smith, one of the other linebackers who had a lot of hype from Dave coming into this year, the transfer from Liberty, tore his ACL during the game. And you just hate seeing that. 2 torn ACLs on Saturday for Baylor. Mike Smith and Garrison Grimes, the long snapper and Jeff's son. Hate seeing that. Absolutely hate seeing that. 2 actual big parts of this team going down. But again, for all that we've seen this year where it looks like the guys don't want to be out there, I hate questioning guys' effort. I do, but it didn't look like they wanted to be out there for a lot of those games. That puts this to bed, at least momentarily. These guys are in it for each other. They are in it for the guys in that locker room, and they want to play for each other and for their coaches. Even if we're on them, even if they're not so much happy to represent Baylor because we're getting on them, which I do think these guys love Baylor, of course. But even when they're mad at us a little bit, they're doing it for the guys in the locker room with them, and to the point where they're throwing up on the sideline and getting ready to get back in the game. And Dave said, that's when I knew. That's when I knew we were going to win this game. And you heard it from the players. I had it in yesterday's show. The players in the press conference, they said, not necessarily we knew we were going to win, but we weren't out of this. We weren't going to lay down. We knew we weren't dead. And I am inclined to believe them, to be honest with you, because we heard it a couple of times last year. And I think of specifically Mark Milton in that BYU game. And he basically said, up until the last pass goes out of bounds in double overtime, we thought we were going to win the game. We fully believed we were going to win the game. And for all the criticism, rightful or otherwise, that we have of the coaching staff, because there's definitely some rightful criticism in there, they do have them believing they can win every game. And we think it's BS when Dave gets up there and says he has a championship roster and thinks, they had a great week of practice and all that. But I think that goes to show you it's probably not BS. They really do think that. And that's something positive to go on going forward, because they have got leaders on this team. And I don't know what that's going to look like in crunch time down the road, because these guys were backup acts on the Sugar Bowl team. But Matt Jones defensively, Blake Shapen offensively, these guys are leading the locker room, clearly. And Matt Jones is a dog. Matt Jones is a dog. Yes, Matt Jones is a dog, and he's a dog that loves wearing bird dogs. And so do I. And so should you, if you haven't already. So bird dogs, what it is, it's all the great things of Lululemon, but it's actually affordable and actually better. Okay? The bird dog stretch khaki shorts, they're designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and the leg, and it gives you that sculpted look. They're more sculpted to you, and they're comfy as heck. And they look really good, okay? They invented the cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but it stretches. So you get that slimmer fit. You don't have to sacrifice the movement. They're so comfortable. They're functional for any occasion. Like, look, I can wear them to work during the Drake Toll show. I can wear them now. I can wear them out golfing. I can wear them on a semi-casual evening out. I can wear them out on a date with my girlfriend. They're so great. So you can wear them everywhere, and they feel good, and they look good. Okay. So you need to go to birddogs.com and use the code LockedOnCollege. All right. Or so birddogs.com, you can do /LockedOnCollege or enter the promo code LockedOnCollege at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com /LockedOnCollege for a free water bottle at checkout. You will not want to take these Bird Dogs pants off you, and I promise you that. So a little look ahead. I'm going to get more into the Butt Bowl preview the later we go in this week, starting tomorrow, and breaking down Joey McGuire's team. And again, very, very similar season to what Baylor's at so far. Probably a little bit more hope than Baylor's had before the UCF game, but similar season. They are also 2-3. They are also 1-1 in the conference. They, on the other hand, came in with a lot of hype. There were a lot of people's dark horse pick to win this conference. And I didn't think they were that far off, but I said at the beginning of the season, I said, just be wary of this kind of hype. They were in the rankings. It felt a lot like the hype that Baylor had going into last year. Now, Baylor's was a little more warranted. They were coming off a championship. Tech was not, but they definitely have some bright spots. And it could be a big dip at quarterback. But anyway, Dave had some real interesting sound bites, and he always gets, he gets down in the weeds. He'll talk football to you. And he talked a little bit about what Tech can do, what Joey McGuire brings, and kind of what to expect from that Tech team this week.
In terms of Texas Tech, what impresses you about what they're able to do in terms of running the ball as a team that's top half in the country in that area?
Appreciate that. Yeah, they spread you out, and then they run gap schemes. And so they'll pull a tackle, we call it a dart play, or they'll pull a guard and a tight end. So they run counter, GY, and then their backs are really patient. And so the backs will stay behind the pullers. If the pullers are coming this way and the back's coming, he'll stay behind. Then if there's no force, he'll bounce it. If there is hard force, he could cut it all the way back. So the spacing, the patience, and then the big playability, the speed to, when they do get in open grass, to make the most of it. And the final thing I'd add to that would be the tempo. I think there are times where there should be edges by design and defense and everything, and there's not, because they're worn down. Guys are tired. Guys are trying to get through this series, and something hits them.
Who steps in Mike Smith's place, and then do you have an update on Garrison as well? Garrison
also tore his ACL. Yeah, so we lost 2 in this game, which has kind of it's been a tough season for injuries, and it continues. But Josh White will move up, see some action, and then we want to be able to look at J.J. Evans as well as Brooks and Carmelo, and so we need to build some depth there.
Go ahead.
Is there any concern in kind of the momentum, all the good vibes coming out of the UCF game, kind of swinging too far the other way, for y'all, and kind of being too confident, if that makes any sense?
I think it's probably a pretty big vacuum of good vibes, so we're not. I think we're pretty safe in that area.
Dave, do the performances by Monterey and Richard kind of help the offense as far as what the defenses you have to face will prepare?
Appreciate that. I agree. Yes. I think one of the areas that needs improvement, among many, would be the play of our outside receivers. I think prior to this game, it was an area that was kind of growing, and there was promise, and all that could still be. But we have to overcome the hiccup that was on Saturday. There was a lot of one-on-one matchups that we wanted to take advantage of, and we failed to do so just by release and run of the route and separation and all of it. And so with that, the outside's taken away, the inside opened up, and I think we're able to see that. And so, with Tech, returns 2 really good corners. I think they're the 2 of the better players on their defense. And so, again, another great challenge for our outside people, but then an opportunity for our inside people as well. And so we've got to get our outside guys going because they're talented, and I know that they're a huge part of what we do. But while that is being operated and worked on, we got some good options inside.
What was the difference in Richard on Saturday from maybe the first 4 games?
Appreciate that. Yeah, I think I've seen a difference in him maybe the last 3 weeks. And so, I think, anytime that you're sharing reps and you're doing all of it, I think that has an effect. I think that would on anybody. And so I think for him to kind of find his role and his space and all of it took a minute. And then I also think, the ability to feel out, hey, this is our O-line. This is when I run to the left, it's this. When I run to the right, it's this. And just the timing and all of it takes a while to get to that. And sometimes when we're subbing guys in and out, it's hard to get into that rhythm. And these last couple of weeks, he's been able to get it. And so excited for what he's doing and what he's about to do.
Coach, what is different about the quarterback you guys are going to play in Baron Morton versus the guy who was the start of the first couple of weeks in Tyler Shutt?
Appreciate that. Yeah, I think the starter that they had, you could tell that he had been in some big games, had won some big games. There was when things got pressured up, he was way calmed down. I think the Oregon game is a great example of that. There's a couple others that are true that way as well. I think the guy we're playing now is very talented, can make all the throws, can run and everything else. I think he's still working through the, getting over the moments. I mean, there's some of the things that our guys are working through when you saw, our backup guys in there too. So I think it's just part of it. And so would like for that to continue for them, at least one more week.
Coach, to start the season at home, 1-3 overall, but now you hit the road and you got that win. Can you talk about returning to McLean Stadium, how important it is to defend the home turf?
No, appreciate that. Yeah, our guys love playing at home. We want to be able to see a big crowd, and then we want to play well for a crowd, for a home crowd, and just get the energy going at McLean like we know it can be. And we, the football team and everyone involved has a huge part in that. And so we take that really seriously, and we're looking forward to another opportunity to do that.
Thanks, Dave. Definitely a good preliminary look. That is going to get us into what the rest of this week's going to look like. It's going to be a fun one. This is always fun when these two teams meet. It is a great rivalry. It's neither team's biggest rivalry, but it's a fun one. We have the same enemies, so usually we'll end up rooting for each other, but not on this week. But anyway, we'll bring you that full tech preview as we go throughout the week. Thank you so much for listening today, and thank you for making it your first listen today and every day. It's Butt Bowl week, man. It's real fun. We're going to be back tomorrow with more Butt Bowl preview. This has been, always will be, Locked On Baylor.